Hey, Hardin County. It's Monday. I'm going to report on last Thursday's commissioner meeting. I already have it up posted. I just hadn't got around to actually making the summary video. So here we are on a Monday getting our video made. So this was for April 10th at the commissioner's office. After the pending items, Tim said that he went to the multi-county jail, which he's very faithful about going to that. And then Fred went to the airport board meeting. And they don't really ever talk about it. So I don't know when they tell each other what happens in those meetings. But other than just saying that they went, there's literally zero communication. So whether they're sharing, maybe they're getting the meeting minutes sent to their email, and that's how they're learning about these other boards. I certainly would think that it would behoove them to share the significance of what's happening in each of their boards when they attend them, especially like the health board, to feed that back to the commissioners. But we're not seeing that at all in the public meetings. Okay, so Sharon Huston came in with Hardin Hills, so it's been a year now that it's been closed. So April 11th is when they announced the closing, and then everybody was out by July 1st. So not quite a year since close, but a year since the announcement. Actually, she gave a lot of information that I've been kind of wondering about, and I know other people have been asking about in regards to what's happening with Hardin Hills. So Brett Klum, the state auditor, came back and said that whatever's money is left they have to go to the judge, and the judge can write a warrant to move that money over to the general fund. And Sharon kind of said, oh, there's going to be money left. And then Fred's like, well, or Tim, I think he said that, well, maybe there won't be. So right now they have, I don't know, it's a little over $400,000 that's earmarked for this Medicaid, Medicare fraud, overpayment, I don't know, type of thing. And then they have $160,000 left for general bills. And so I don't know how many people are actually down. That's people they're down to. I know Jerry is staying on. I mean, it sounds like Sharon maybe is wrapping up. I don't know if anybody else is working out there. So phase 1 is done. They're doing tier 2, which will be done by the end of July. They are working with Rolf Law on what to do with the name, because it's not a registered business name. It's just a county name. They don't have to actually do anything with it. They can just kind of let it go because it's not official. Huntington Bank had a bank account, which I thought was really interesting. So evidently, from what Sharon is saying, all the money from the residents directly from the government. So I'm assuming maybe their Social Security checks and those kinds of things went directly into this Huntington's bank, and it sounds like it was kind of everybody. So everybody's money got billed directly to this Huntington's bank. They did make $3,000 worth of interest on that, which I thought is kind of interesting because I don't know how you make interest on somebody else's money. There was a small amount that they had originally from the county that they used to open the account years and years ago. Anyways, I just thought that was very curious that's how they handled. Not everybody had their own individual accounts, so I'm sure they've done it like that for years and years and years, and probably nobody really cared. So the other thing that I thought was really concerning, and I wanted to put out a public notice of this, which if anybody knows that Sharon has now closed that account at Huntington. So after the people moved out, which it's been a significant amount of time, the government was still putting in money into that account for the residents that are still here. So the money would be deposited in. She would have to write a check over to KNRC so that the residents would get their money. And KNRC says they have filled it out with the government. She says they've done all their things. and it's not getting moved. And so the only way that she knew how to kind of get that money bounced back is just to close the account, and the residents will stop getting that money. And then of course it will be flagged because KNRC they won't be able to pay KNRC, and so it's kind of be this debacle until the government can kind of get the monies moved. And they should get a flag when the money gets bounced back from the bank account. So hopefully, if you know anybody who is a resident from Hardin Hills, then just pass it along the information. They may have some trouble in these next couple months of getting their money rerouted. They talked about the mail and moving the mail. They put in all the paperwork to move the mail from Hardin Hills over to the courthouse, because it sounds like Commissioner's office is going to take that over. They'll be doing all the processing of that information. There were some concerns with like certified letters that they have to do in a certain amount of time, so checking for those every day. There was something about having it listed as a private property. I know a lot of people have noticed that they put up no trespassing signs, which I thought was, or private property signs, which I thought was interesting. They said they tied them to the phone poles or something, and they wanted to, so they blocked off the two in front, and they wanted to block off the one down on Jones Road, but Tim, because he was a firefighter, said, no, you can't do that. You have to have a place for the emergency vehicles to come through, but those are like very secure barriers. I haven't been out that way to check it out, but it has something to do with securing that property, maybe because nobody's going to be there anymore. They need to secure it, so kind of interesting. They talked about the utilities, right? It's $300 a month just to keep like the security lights on, and they were wondering whether they should keep the electric bill for the whole nursing home kind of going. I don't know what all that entails, but it was going to be $2,500 a month. So I can't imagine. I don't know what they actually decided. Sometimes it's a little wishy-washy when they're talking about these kinds of things. So I don't remember what they decided on. They did talk about keeping like the gas on, and they said, I think they did, keeping the generator active, those kinds of things. And the idea is that Vancrest still has a hold on that land. So they have when they purchased the beds, they had an option to buy the Hardin Hills land, and so it's still legally tied up with Vancrest. And so they are kind of wanting to keep it so that there's water if there's a fire, and the cuckoo clock, that those resources are still available if anything were to happen. So still really, I think they said there's probably another 2 months with Vancrest to have that on hold, because they didn't get the beds until the very beginning of July, so we would have a year from that date. So still, what's going to happen to Hardin Hills after July? We're not sure. Then they went into an executive session for probably 30 minutes. It was really, really long, and it was for employee compensation, G1. So we'll have to keep an eye. I can check the journals to see, what, maybe somebody got a pay raise, or maybe somebody got bonuses paid out, or sick leave, or who knows. But we're always quite generous out there at Hardin Hills. Okay, so after that, we had an interesting a wind farm come in to the office. They didn't seem like they knew much about Hardin County. They had they know that we have wind farms, and so there were 3 of them that kind of stopped in and was asking if we were open to wind farms. And the guys announced that, we used to be, but we're coming to be restricted county, 10 out of the 15 people our townships are in the process of becoming restricted. And I really felt like, it was going to just kind of fizzle out. And, they asked, well, what do your citizens say? And they were like, well, they don't want it, and so the townships have been coming and asking for this. And, it was I was like, oh, I thought they were all going to leave. And it just really turned on a dime. And they said, well, we got 5 more counties that are interested, that could be interested in wind farms, especially the ones that are up in the north, because the transmission line for the solar fields are in the south. And so these ones all up in the north are available. And they were like, oh, well, can we get the names of those? And so they told them the names of those counties and where to go. And when they were getting ready to leave, even Tori came over and told the guy, hey, if you go on our website and tell him where to go, that he can find all the names and numbers of the trustees so that they can make the phone calls of around Hardin County to see if any of the townships up there want to have solar. And the other thing I thought was interesting was Paul Osborne so he's the administrator at Alger, and then he's a township trustee in Marion Township. And he spoke up and, really let them know, hey, Marion Township, we love wind farms, and they would love to see more wind farms. He started out as a township trustee, kind of switched over to a citizen, so I'm not sure who he was, kind of speaking from, but got their name and number and was very interested in seeing what they have to offer. Now, I don't know if this is a big company. We have Invenergy, who is, a pretty large solar company, and Solar Ridge with a wind farm are the ones that we've dealt with in the past. This is kind of a whole new company. Are they vetted? Are they sound? I don't know. I don't know anything about them. So just know that the commissioners have encourage them to really come into Hardin County and see what they can find. These would be for over 50, so anybody who's already restricted would not have access to these. It's not like the solar farms maybe where you can, well, I don't know, maybe you can put up one wind turbine for under 50. I'm not sure. I haven't done any research on wind farms because I thought they were kind of out of date, I guess. So if you are Washington, Liberty, Roundhead, Marion, or McDonald Township, you may be seeing solar or wind farm people coming around. Now, again, this is the kind of thing where they're going to go sign contracts with landowners, and you're probably not going to know anything about them until it's too late. So, okay, that's kind of the wind farm is out of Michigan. So, if you want to know. Other than that, I think they had a material bid opening for the engineers because they're going to get ready to start paving roads. And we did get the grant, the infrastructure grant for the 25 miles of roads. And so Luke is preparing for that activity. And so I didn't stay for it. It, of course, was in the afternoon. And it's just a bid opening. I can get the details of it later. I did try to do public comment at the end of the meeting. I am still not successful. I did sign up before the 9:30 time period, although they did pick the paper up at 9:10. So I'm not sure, they said they weren't going to do that, and then they did do that. So I'm not sure. I was already signed up at that point, and so I just kind of went with it. I did sign up for the agenda item, and if you watch the video, you can see that I just didn't. I remembered later that the commissioners were kind of saying that agenda time is for business-related things, and so I didn't want to kind of make trouble or cause there to be new rules and those kinds of things, because I was just a citizen making comment and having more than my 3 minutes. So I just felt like that was an uneasy sort of situation. And so I canceled that and then just had my 3 minutes. So I signed up for that in the beginning. And then I went to do my 3 minute comment. Joe interrupted me kind of right away, and then I said something that Tim didn't like, and kind of about the public policy. It's kind of vague. I mean, it's kind of just like a set of criterias, but not like a policy. And so, obviously, this is what they approved in January, but they keep adding rules to it and interpreting how, interpreting the language different every single time. And so I'm having a hard time kind of following along with what the actual process is and what the expectation is. So I was making comments about that and how, it leans itself to being an unfair sort of situation. And Tim kind of took offense to that and went and got the prosecutor, or went downstairs to get the prosecutor. I decided I didn't need to really stay. And so I went out in the hallway, kind of realizing that it's still a public meeting. And so I waited out there. Siobhan did come up and try to talk to me. And then, pretty much right after that, it was the end of the meeting. So I'm not sure. I'm probably going to try again to do public comment. And we'll see if I'm successful at that time. But like I said, kind of having a hard time navigating and understanding what the expectations are. So anyways, that was Thursday. I hope you guys had a great weekend, and we're already to a new week, and we'll have commissioner meeting tomorrow, and we'll see you later. All right, bye.